Hello and welcome to Columbus Local Podcast. I am Len D'Amico and we are here for episode number 28 with Will Newsome. Will, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Len.
We had some fun pregame, did we not?
We did. No, it was probably, I was saying out there, like if we had a mic out there, that would have been the podcast, it's.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, it's just nice getting to just.
But it's hard to have someone like we've met. We've had conversations at some of your shows in the past, but it's hard to be acquainted and have someone over.
Sure.
And jump into a podcast, but
sure.
Which I think it would be effective and it would be fun and it would be organic. However, I think there's a comfort level that's gained.
Oh, 100%.
Hanging out, pre-gaming a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the conversation, there's some topics I'm sure that we cannot.
We can't divulge everything in one episode. That's true.
No, because this is global, man. I mean, there are listeners all over this particular planet.
Yeah. Well, I'm down for that.
Will Newsome is guitarist, vocalist, songwriter. He is the lead creative force of This Day Forever, which is a Columbus, Ohio-based original music band. Let's start there, man. I mean, there is a major event coming. What is it, and how do you feel about it?
Yeah, sure. So on Friday, October 20th, our first single.
In the year 2023.
In the year 2023, that's right. Yeah.
Date it.
The date it. It's going to be, this on Friday, October 20th, 2023. Our first single on UVT Entertainment, In Grooves, is going to come out. And we're excited, man. It's like we signed a deal around a year ago, and we had to take a break for a little while. Our drummer ended up getting stage 4 laryngeal cancer, so we took a small break, and he's been cancer-free for a good amount of time, and we've done a few shows since, and we're excited. This song, it's actually been finished for almost 2 years, but I wanted to get both of the guys on the final recording, so we ended up redoing a few things in the studio, and I couldn't be happier with the way the final song came out. So. It's an honest rock song. It's fuel on piss and vinegar, man. And it's when it tells the story of folks judging with how you cope and kind of like your takeaway from all that. And, your message back to to those folks anyway.
We heard this song. I don't know how many people have heard it. I mean, you played it for me today and for Beth.
Sure, yeah. So the final version, this finished version, I think maybe less than 10 people have heard it so far.
All right, so I feel honored.
No,
but I gotta say, man, I mean, I could feel every ounce of emotion that is presented in the song.
No, that means a lot. Thank you for
that last song. Was
thank
really
you.
Heavy.
Yeah. Thank you for picking up on that. With the band This Day Forever, it's a long history with it. It was originally it was 3 of us core members. It was myself, my brother Kenny, and then Paul Cunningham, and we started right around 2000, 2001, more 2001, I guess I should say. And over the years, we had a slew of bass players, went on tours, a lot of showcases, got a pre-production deal in the works. And then in 2010, everything kind of came to a head, and a lot of tensions were there, and it needed a break, so to speak. It was a break that we all kind of needed. And it was an undefined break. It wasn't like the band's breaking up. It was like, okay, let's just take time off. And then fast forward 9 years, and Kenny passed away. And with that, I took some time off from doing anything original. I played in cover bands, played in a few various bands during that time, and holding down a day job was all a part of it. And then when coronavirus hit, I ended up going to Tennessee to work on some songs with a guy named Brett Hessla, who was the vocalist of a band called Dark New Day with the members of Seven Dust, Clint and Corey, and Will Hunt was the drummer for that. So he produced the last record with the last EP, which is called When Only the Devil We Know Can Save Us.
And where can we hear that?
Sure. It's so it's right now you can listen to it on Bandcamp. It's on Spotify. It's on all streaming services.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an EP that tells a story of kind of, you know, you going through loss, you're trying to find your better self through all of it, and it's as real as it gets. I mean, that's
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, we heard some cuts from that album this evening, and just very emotional presentation.
Yeah, thank you. What you're saying, I mean, it hits home, because that's ultimately what I hope comes across is just, even with the band name and the name I chose, This Day Forever, it's duality. It's finding and realizing that chaos and order exists. And, you know, it's even through the darkest shit moments, you got to find that glimmer of hope, because if you don't, you're not going to last, you know?
Right.
Yeah. So This Day Forever, it's all about balance. You know, it's Jungian philosophy. It's balancing your light and your dark, and to keep grinding through all of it. And then you end up rewriting an NXS song, and then you put that as your last song on the record.
Oh my God, man. You know, honestly, that is one of my favorite tunes ever. No, I am an NXS fan.
No, you told me that.
That tune, and then when you played it,
yeah,
that's a great rendition.
No, thank you. I got a funny story to tell you about this. So after I recorded this record, I got in touch with some really good close friends who are like family to me. Mark and I, the bassist of This Day Forever, and Carlos Torres, the drummer. And Mark, believe it or not, had never heard Don't Change. He had never heard the song. All right. So in his mind,
believe it or not,
in his mind, he thought I wrote that song. Now, thank you, Mark, for, you know, that I could write a song that great. That's awesome. So he's learning the material from the record so we could play the shows. And he hits me up a week later. He's like, Will, Limp Bizkit is covering your song. I'm like, what are you talking about? Limp Bizkit's covering my song. And that's the running joke now. So if I'm ever playing a show and you hear me say, you know, we like to thank Limp Bizkit for covering our song as we started, that's what it's about. Yeah, absolutely the truth.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
So you can actually play an NXS song and get paid for it.
Well, this is the ironic part. Yeah. Yeah, we get paid. Yeah. Like, I think it's like,
well, we don't have to get into the details.
Slightly under 300 of a penny.
It's certainly not my business.
No, it's very minuscule.
It's nobody else's business, man.
It's like an office space. It's like 300
sliced and diced into pennies. I get it. Oh, I get it.
Yeah, you know exactly.
I get it.
Yes.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So where are you guys playing live?
Yeah. So primarily, if I'm not mistaken, I think in total we've done 7 or 8 shows as this version of the band with Carlos and Mark and myself, and it feels like home. It's ridiculous.
Big sound, man.
Thank you, man. Like for the trio, you know, it's just when we get together, it just feels like home, and it's like, okay, this is something really good. So we played shows at the King of Clubs. We played shows in town at Turtle Creek. And then there was a place, The Stoop. We did a show on the west side where they have like a little half pipe in there for skating and stuff. Fun little show, like a little underground punk show. So we've only done a few selective shows, and then after that, we ended up. All these things kind of happened quickly. We got together. Carlos and I did originally. Corona hit. We took the break. We got Mark in. We started rehearsing. And then within 3 shows, we actually signed an independent record deal. So, it's kind of like, and actually I was turned down by 3 labels before I signed the deal I did. So I was turned down by a mini major and two independents, and I have the letters still. It's kind of fun. And then I called my former manager and said, hey man, if you have your label and you're looking to sign anyone, listen to the stuff and tell me what you think. And they agreed it was a good fit. So our goal is just to get the music out there to as many ears as possible and push for licensing deals next year. And then we're talking with some booking agents about getting on some tours next year, hopefully like, a few days or a week out, here and there. And then just doing selective shows at home and seeing where 2024 takes things.
So with your streaming, you get some metrics, right?
Yes.
From your demographic audience. And are you finding your audience domestically, or where is it concentrated? Where's this music finding itself?
Sure. So some of the last things I've seen, we're getting a lot of plays in the UK and Australia, Japan, and ironically Germany, which Kenny and I as kids, we lived in Germany for 6 years, 3 years at a time, off and on, with our dad being in the military. So it's ironic that those folks are picking up on something that's coming out of, emotions that I've lived and experienced. So it's all in there. It's in the DNA,
It's in the DNA because when you write your songs, what's your inspiration?
And this is no joke. So I've had a few folks ask me the question, how do you write the songs you write? And I'll either hear like an entire thing already finished as if I'm receiving it. Man. And I won't hear guitar parts. I'll hear like a melody. I'll hear words. I'll hear phrasing. I'll hear beats and rhythms. Or I'll hear an entire completed thing. Or at other times I'll hear just melodies with almost like the Bee Gees used to record. They would go in and hum melodies over music. And a lot of times I'll hear those things in my head. And at other times I'll literally hear completed lines of a verse, So my belief, as hokey as this may sound, I do believe that all the music is created in the universe, in the ether. And we, as artists, grab it and translate that, what we're hearing, through our filter.
And into your rendition.
And into the rendition of what
is being interpreted.
How we translate it, yeah.
Wow, man.
Because
that's heavy.
Because music is energy. It's all frequencies. We're made of energy, frequencies.
Right.
So I think that moment when you tie in with that certain frequency and you're feeling that emotion and you're open enough to hear it, yeah, you got to strike it right then.
That's deep, man.
That's where it comes from. And then you have my joking side.
You're in tuned.
I'm in tune with something. Well, you know what I mean? But it's kind of like, but once again, it's the Jung, and thank you for saying that, but it's like the Jungian thing. You got to have the balance, right? So as deep as I can go, there's the other side of me that's a complete jokester. That you have to be able to laugh at certain things and not take yourself too seriously.
You're a jokester, mister.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But thank you. And I'm honored, honestly, to finally be able to sit down with you and with Beth and hang out and get to know you guys more, because we see each other at shows, and it's always like a quick, hey, how you been? And we'll give a quick hug. And it's, and I've been trying to get in here for a while, and thank you for not giving up on me with this. I mean that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm in that space with a lot of folks in town, right? Yeah. Where I reach out, I want to try to, get a date, and, well, send me some availabilities, and I'm looking at the calendar, and I'm booked through February next year.
That's amazing.
Well, you know what, dude? Let's just get it on the calendar.
Yeah. No, I'm so glad this is picking up for you too. I made a little post today, and I didn't want to give too much information away, but just a quick thing was, dropping off T-shirts in the mail for some people, and then heading over to do a podcast with a musician who has a passion for music, and who really cares about the music scene, and
that's awesome for you to say.
No, it is
accurate though. I mean, I really, it's been a long road, in Columbus for a lot of us.
Yeah.
But we have that common thread, man. Passion.
That's
having
exactly
a good time.
Yes.
Giving a good time to others,
that's at the end of the day, that's what it's for me. It's connecting, it's connecting. It's whether it's so with the original band, for me, it's complete therapy. It's reaching out to people. It's helping others through, maybe they're going through something that I went through that I can help them with, and then it's a give and take. It's a dance with that. And then, I play, you know me with the cover band, the Martini Affair.
Let's get into that, man. So so aside from This Day Forever, right?
Yeah.
You're involved as guitarist.
Yeah.
With a little party band called Martini Affair.
I'm guilty of that. Yeah.
I love Jimmy King, man. He my path has crossed with Jimmy in the past.
Yeah.
And he oh my God. But hanging with Jimmy, right, back a few years now, right? Yeah. Pre Martini Affair.
Yeah.
And then hang with you for 4 hours pre-gaming.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the two in the same room.
You know what though? It's
let alone.
Yeah.
But you know what, man? That's part of the energy of Martini Affair, right? That's the electricity between you and Jimmy and John and and then the beautiful vocalists that are part of that band.
Yeah.
The energy's just making that party.
No, that's awesome that you pick up on that. It's like if you want to go through the history of how all this went down, so coming home, This Day Forever took a break in 2010, and my brother Kenny and I, we wanted to start another band to have fun, get out of the industry, get rid of all the baggage that we were holding. So we started a little heavier project that it was called Easter, and it was almost like Old Kiss meets Clutch. And we recorded a record with Joe Veers at Sonic, and it went really well, all live to 2-inch, and knocked out 8 songs in a few hours and had it mixed the next day, and it was done, $500 out the door, and sold out of those. And then that band kind of dissolved. And at the time also playing in a cover band, what was called the Filthy Habits, with my current bass player Mark and I and Matt Mace. Also doing guitar duties with Razor Bliss, which was Tommy Caradonna, Matt Mace, Mark and I, and Randy was the vocalist, which then led to, fast forward a little bit, that led to the Filthy Habits, the cover band, kind of dissolving as Mark was moving to Vegas for a job. And I had met a guy named Jimmy King at a Hell Run. But we met slightly before that. We met at Kicks. He was doing a gig.
You knew each other.
We had met once before. I saw Kings of the Drink play, and I don't know if you were there. I swear I feel like I met you at that, but maybe not.
It could have been.
Yeah, I think
Kicks is now Fenders.
It's now Fenders, yeah. And it was
possible.
The only time, and so my doctor Jill, whom I was training at the time, her fiance was playing drums in the band, and I met Jimmy that night, and then we were doing a Hell Run some months later, and there was a little obstacle, which I hate heights, and Jimmy is claustrophobic as well as I, but there was a little obstacle you had to kind of crawl through. It was about 2.5 foot tall, and it was a makeshift tunnel, and it was a bit muddy, and he looked kind of squeamish. I'm like, hey, hold on to my arm and we'll get through this shit, and we got through the end, and we kind of struck. That was like the beginning of our brotherhood. And then from there we talked music.
Was there mud in that?
There was a ton of mud in it. It was mud in the hole. That happens.
Hell Run.
Hell Run, that's right. And so after that, a few months later, he posted that his band, the Martini Affair, were looking for a guitarist. And I answered a post that they had put up, and we talked a little bit about that. And I ended up going to one rehearsal. It lasted about 45 minutes. We got through about 6 songs. And I was like, okay, I can figure this out. I said, just trust me and we'll get through this. And then a week later, the first gig was Red, White, and Boom 2015. That was the first show.
That was your first show.
That was the first show, yeah.
It's kind of like...
it was like jumping in. Well, it gets worse because I had never used in-ears before that moment, not even at rehearsal. So
you had that adaptation.
Well, that
is a leap.
Well, it gets worse. So they let me use their backup pack for the monitoring, right? IEMs. And I didn't have earbuds, so I used like a cheap ass set of Sony earbuds just to get through the show. halfway through the show, one popped out from all the sweat. And yeah, it was 45 minutes. And then 2 weeks later, we did 2 days in Toledo. So I had to cram 45 songs in a couple of weeks, but it worked. It was fun. And we've been together since. We had to take a break during coronavirus. We took, about 18 to 20 months off. So in all playing time, I've been with them for 6 years. Yeah.
That's a great run.
Oh, they had another
lot of freaking
amazing people.
Are there any road stories that you can tell?
That I can tell.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah,
right?
no, 100%. I'll come back to you. No, honestly. So, honestly, the first time I go out with them to Toledo, you're just learning each other's idiosyncrasies, and you're learning, like, me and Jimmy.
Are you all in Jimmy King's van? Or are you traveling separately?
So, Jenna rode up with Mark, the drummer at the time, and his wife in their car. Yeah. And then I ended up driving myself to Toledo. This was pre-band van. So, so Jimmy this was pre-band van. But no, the first outing was a lot of fun because you're learning everybody's idiosyncrasies, and it was, the place we're playing gave us hotel rooms for the weekend. We had 2 different hotels, for the weekend, and Jimmy and I were like, who's going to bunk together? And he and I looked at each other and we're like, how cold do you like it in your room? I'm like 64. He's like, me too. I'm like, okay, we're roommates. And so this is a funny story I can't tell. So
you can?
I can. No, I
okay,
can.
Good.
So Jess,
the start's got me a little nervous.
No, you're good. No, so Jess ends up getting his own room. And as far as I know, or he may have not stayed, Mark and his wife had a room, and Jenna ended up in a fold-up bed, a rollout in their room, and Jimmy and I had a room, and we're sitting there, and Jimmy had brought tequila, and we're like, man, it doesn't feel right. Jenna should be in here too. We'll go see if she wants to have a drink, and we go down and knock on the door, and she answers, and it was almost like the setting was. She was sitting on a fold-out bed, almost like in someone's bedroom, because Mark and his wife were, in slippers, reading books in bed. And I'm like, come down and hang out with us. So we moved her bed down, her fold-out.
Did you roll her in the bed down the hall?
No, that would have been better.
Okay.
No, they would have kicked us out probably. No, but that's where we all kind of bonded right there on that weekend. It was like, okay, we're a team. You know what I mean? And this is how we do it. And that was the start. That was a true start of from that moment
of that lineup, right?
Lineup, yeah.
That has lasted 6 years.
Well, and then John came into the picture. Yeah, John came into the picture a month or 2 after that. John Jenkins. Yeah, and because I was hired after Jenna, and then John after myself. So yeah, and it's been with John. I think John's been with the band 6 or 7 years. Yeah. So no, it's been a fun run. And,
gosh,
yeah,
yes.
And live, and thank you for always coming to shows and supporting when you can. People often ask, they're like, are you guys are having fun up there, right? And I'm like, yeah, we're not faking anything. It's not scripted. What you're seeing is what's happening, for better or worse,
I have been to Martini Affair shows where I'm 200 yards away from the stage.
Yeah.
You don't know I'm there, but I'm there, man.
No,
I'm like grooving to the scene. They're big parties.
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
Yeah, and going back to the balance of things, right?
Sure.
So, I realized that This Day Forever is my therapy, and the cover band. It's for people who don't know what I do. I tell them I'm the soundtrack to bad decisions. That's like my thing with that. And I realized that I'm giving back to even with the cover band, where people who maybe going through some shit, or you're having a rough week, you come and let loose, and you're able to do that with us there, and so that I am the entertainer for that setting. And so that's the good balance that I have with that.
That's a great mindset.
Yeah.
It shows, man. I mean, your passion,
you,
your energy is just like, inspiring.
Oh, God love you. Thank you so much, man.
I'm an old man.
Well,
I'm an old man, dude. Had a big birthday this year, and I like my I'm just like, ooh,
Yeah.
and I just enjoy, hanging
Yeah.
doing some fun.
No, this the setup you have is amazing, and I think it's an amazing thing you're doing for the Columbus scene. It's
Yeah, I don't know why I'm compelled to like keep roll. I mean, I started in January. I went to a gig, ran into talking with Lars Raymond, and I'm like, oh, you're the perfect first guest, dude. And we together decided we were going to do an episode, and I was going to just do a couple this year, see if the interest was as strong as my own.
Yeah.
To really spend some time hanging and getting to know and recording, backgrounds and stories, etc. And I'm booked like 2-3 a week till February, and I'm still booking. I mean, it's like good stuff. I mean, on both sides, like the feedback I'm getting, I haven't heard any bad feedback.
No, I've listened to a few shows, and I think it's amazing. I think what you're doing is seriously, like we said earlier, you can go watch people play, but you don't know their backstory or what makes them tick,
Yeah, man.
And then when you find those bits out, then certain things you see.
The pregame is where it's at, though. Like, I have pregame stories that I have to keep locked into a vault.
But that's good though. See, just like
you know what? People. I don't believe me.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, and I don't mean to sound like somebody else, but. A lot of people confide in me.
Yeah, no, but that's
I don't know why that is.
You've got that trusting, earnest bit about you. It's
maybe.
Yeah,
I'm a corporate American guy still.
Nah. Well, when we first met, there was something instantly. I'm like, oh, he's a really cool cat, like good, solid person. You can just tell.
Thanks, man.
You run into folks enough times to know that you can tell right away within the first 5 minutes if they're they're
living life.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm living life. I know you are.
Yeah. Well, you have to live life. If you don't, then you're going to be miserable as you attempt your daily grind, I mean, I was talking to someone else, and I mean, before coronavirus, I was, if I scroll back through like 2014, 2013, 14, I was playing in several bands. I'd come off the road, This Day Forever, what it was on an indefinite break. And I was playing with Erica Blinn and the Handsome Machine, doing the cover bands, before Martini Affair, doing the day jobs. I was a personal trainer for almost 20 years. And there were a lot of times where I was like, man, this day job I have is eating at my soul. Right. And it was negative. But then when you flip that around, man, this day job allows me to do things that I love. And once you really hone in on that and check yourself, things gel a lot smoother, man. The day's not so heavy.
It's a wise statement. Yeah. Very wise statement.
Yeah. It took me a minute to really, I had to check myself every once in a while still, where it's like,
it's an ongoing process.
If
everything evolves.
Yeah, you got to make money. You have to survive. You got to fund your passions, which hopefully one day can then in turn become lucrative enough to where you can sustain a living or a modest living even off that, or some side income. It's like I work for the Department of Health still. During coronavirus, my intermittent job turned full time. I'm like, okay, I can't play shows now, but I still have a job that is now full time with overtime. Great. So let's help some people as I'm doing this and earn some money. Which in turn, I got to go record a record, so.
Yeah, it's a good one. And there'll be more.
We're hoping, yeah. So the first song, once again, it's October 20th on Friday, 2023.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it'll be on all streaming platforms. The song is called Carry On As You Were. And there's a pre-save. I have a pre-save link. I'll send you, and if you want to, I don't know, if you want to just tell some people about it, you can pre-save the song on Apple, Spotify, Deezer, and the whole bit. And that the song is the first song. The next EP will hopefully be out in February or March, and the working title is "Only Heavy Things Can Come From This." So,
when is that coming out?
We're hoping February or March. Okay. So I've got
24.
24, yeah. So I've got a few ideas in the can already. It'll be another EP, and it'll be formulated the same way the prior two EPs have been. It'll have an intro, a prelude intro, It'll have an interlude somewhere in there. And it's not so much a tight concept, but it's a loose concept. I went in to get a haircut. This is how I got the title for the record. I'm going to tell you the story right now. So I was stretching. I was just stretching just now. I went in to get a haircut at one point, and my hairstylist that I normally get was not available. So I couldn't wait 90 days. So I ended up going to like a Great Clips kind of a thing. And I had a feeling it was going to end up bad. Just had a feeling. And so I got my hair cut, not what I wanted. It was drastically different, you know. I said, thanks for your help. And I went out to my car and I sat down and I pulled the rear mirror down and I looked at it. And it reminded me of when I played in a hardcore band back in the mid to late 90s. And I was like, only heavy things can come from this. I was like, well, fuck, there. The universe just gave me the title for the next record.
Cracked open a big, you know, ocean of material.
Yeah, and so in working with that title, I'm wanting this album to reflect whether the music is heavy or the content is heavy, lyrically, substantively. I hope to encompass all that, because to me, one of the heaviest records is the Joshua Tree from U2. Like just lyrically.
Man, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's me too, right?
But how does Octung Baby compare in your mind?
I still like War in the Joshua Tree. Octung Baby is amazing, but I think almost without
Depends
War,
on my mood.
Well, yeah, without War, you wouldn't have the Joshua Tree. Without Joshua Tree, you wouldn't have Octung. You know, so
true.
Yeah, so yeah, there's magic in all those records. You know,
there is.
Yeah. So no, but with with the song that you heard, the Carry On tune. With that, when I wrote that, it was literally a moment. I was up at 4 or 5 in the morning, and I was having just an internal struggle with double-sided talk, from folks, and I'm like, all right, you know what, I got to get this out. I grabbed my acoustic and went to the basement, and I literally heard Johnny Cash singing a line in my head, and I wrote down what I heard. And an hour later, I came up from maybe 2 hours, came up from the basement, and I was like, wow, okay, there's really something here, because with an acoustic and me stomping my foot on the basement floor, and I just felt that there was something real there. And I was like, yeah, this has got to be recorded. And so I had,
so your music is, your original writing is coming from your life.
100%, man. Yeah, whether things I've experienced or things that I see.
And that's why I pick up on the emotional aspect of your songs in the performance.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thanks for noticing. It's definitely there. It's not that I'm out to change the world, to solve anything, but if I can be a seed, that gets things going in a better direction.
A seed that's tapped in.
Yeah, man, trying to be anyway. You know what I mean? Yeah,
you're reaching in there,
100%,
pulling it into this, whatever this is.
Yeah,
this existence.
Yeah, the one we all create. That's pretty much how it is. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. But it's just, at the end of the day, it's just about connecting with folks, man. And I hope with signing with UVT Entertainment, and I hope through using Grooves, the digital distribution company, I hope all these things get out to more people on a broader scale. And I just hope, I tell folks who, if they're first hearing it, I'm like, look, I'm going to give you a CD. If you still have a CD player, take it. If you like it, share it. If you don't like it, share it. Give it to somebody you don't like. That way someone's still going to hear something I'm doing, That's kind of the philosophy with it anyway. But
it's real life.
Yeah.
It's real life, and it's inspiration. And so with your real life, where are you from, Will Newsome? Where did all this come from?
Sure. Having grown up, Pops was military. He was a lifer in the Army. So my late brother Kenny and I, we grew up, we were military brats. Both born in Junction City, Fort Riley, Kansas military base. And then from there, we moved to Schweinfurt, Germany. Spent 2.5, 3 years there. And then as as a child, spent some of my best years in Fort Hood, Texas, in the late 70s, early 80s. It was amazing there. And then from there, moved to Frankfurt, Germany for 3 years.
And then how old were you guys?
Yeah, so in Frankfurt, well, in Texas, it was 78 to 81, 78 to 80, right in there. So 3 years, and then Frankfurt, Germany would have been 81 to 84. So yeah, so I was 10 when we moved to Columbus. We moved in the spring. I think it was the spring of. Matter of fact, it was April or May of 1984. Moved to Columbus, Ohio, and we moved here primarily because my mom's family were all from Columbus, and my dad's family had moved from Inez, Kentucky, to Columbus. So it just made sense for us to retire, for them to retire here, and and so this was. It's ironic to think about as kids. We used to hate moving every 3 years. It was like, oh, we're leaving our friends again.
I've been there, man.
Yeah. So you get that, all the time.
I get it.
Yeah. And
because
then
I lived it too.
Right. I got
not military, but we did move.
Always transient,
Yep.
And then, but then the older you get, the adaptation it teaches you and the ability to truly, not to judge, but just to see character within people and to pick up little things that you might not otherwise, because you've experienced so much of different cultures. And so I wouldn't trade that for the world, but having, like Kenny and I, we grew up in Columbus. And did Lars tell you stories about Park Avenue, the club Park Avenue?
I don't think
Has anybody mentioned that?
No. Where was Park Avenue? So
there was a club called Park Avenue that was on Oakland Park. That was just, so it would have been...
Which side of 71?
So if you're at Cleveland Avenue, you are south of Morris, all right? Yeah. So you're south of Morris Road. So Oakland Park and Morris Road run parallel to each other. So this would have been east of 71? East of Mays and Oakland Park.
Oh, okay. So it's definitely east of 71.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a Donato's that sits close to that now, but it was Colleen's Collectibles after Park Avenue. But there was a small little club, and the owners lived in our neighborhood growing up. Mary and Roger Kaufman, amazing people. Mary has since passed. She was one of those pivotal points in our life with getting us into her club to play as teenagers, and then helping to guide us into the next steps, and to actually, further than that, actually helping us get label attention in 2007. Wow. So her and Roger were very much a huge part of helping us and getting through that. But with Park Avenue, Mary and Roger Kaufman owned this club, and this would have been 1990 through 1996. Whenever they would have us work the door. They would help, as teenagers, they would have us clean up the place. We would help with staging. So I got to meet Tool when they came through on the Opiate tour. I saw Life Bagging and Typo Negative on the Bloody Kisses tour when they first came through. Sepultura flew in, camped out in tents behind the club. They had never played the States yet.
Wow.
So Mary was having all these up and coming metal acts and come in there and play. And bands who the next year they were playing arenas or they were blowing up. So, to hear Tool do a 10-minute version of Sober that's not finished yet. And just to be able to work the stage for them and to just say, hey, and Candlebox when they first came out. I mean, all these great bands that came through. And so Park Avenue. So, and seeing people again now, some 30 plus years later, I'm running into that's where I first met Rob Johnson, matter of fact, they were doing a benefit show that day for my dad. My dad had passed with cancer, and Mary did a benefit show, and Saddleback Shark played it.
Oh, sweet.
And Rob was late getting there. He was at home recording tracks for his debut instrumental album.
Wow.
On Shrapnel. And I'm pretty sure it was on Shrapnel. And when he came running in and set up and played, I was floored.
Oh, for sure.
My jaw hit the floor I was 17 and I was into virtuistic guitar, and I at that moment I wanted to vomit. I wanted to hug him. I wanted to hug him and beat him. And it was just amazing.
The envy.
Oh, he's just unreal. I mean, you watch him; it's so fluid, and it makes me nauseous. Like I want to break my guitars when
It's so simple for him.
It's like a waterfall. You watch little fingers, and I'm like, oh, what are you doing, Rob?
He's just having a good time.
He is. He's over there. Yeah, he's over there.
He's such a sweetheart.
He is. He's gorgeous. He's the greatest person ever.
Yes.
We reconnected some years later after Park Avenue, and I was always a huge fan of anything he was a part of, and my brother Kenny was as well. And my brother's former band had played shows with Saddleback Shark at one point or another, and I sent Rob. I emailed him and said, "Hey man, we haven't talked for a long time. I took a few lessons from Rob way back when I was 17, 18, and all that floored me. I'm like, okay, I'm never going to be as good as him, but I can take bits of what he showed me and I can add it to my toolbox, you know." And so fast forward some years later, I said, "Hey Rob, it's been a long time. You know, do you mind if I send you a song?" And I did, and we went to Roosters some months later after that, had wings and beer, and he's an amazing person. And he and Mandy came out to the last performance that This Day Forever just played at King of Clubs, and it's just always good seeing him, you know.
It is, and he's always very he's a humble guy.
He's a very humble guy.
He's a badass.
He likes. Does he tell you? Did he tell you three things he likes? Did he mention to you?
The 3 things that he likes?
Yeah, there's 3 things.
Well, I see his social media posts, and if I said them, you would.
We don't have a buzzer.
I don't want to start any rumors.
Oh no, you're good. No, so it's big boobs, wings, and farting. There's 3.
Those are the things he posts about.
Yeah,
on social media.
Yeah, we always make jokes about it.
So I wasn't far off.
But he's this insane talent, you know, and we went.
Was that true?
What's that?
What you just said?
Yeah, absolutely true.
Well, those are his real 3.
Yeah, well, no, because we used to make jokes that when I took lessons from him, and then
I just don't want to start.
No. Oh, he's hilarious.
The phones will start ringing. It's a mess.
What's that red light flashing over there? Is that Rob calling in?
You don't want to know. It's on mute.
No, but no, he's been the nicest. Like I sent him the songs, and I sent him a version of Carry On, the first version.
Oh man.
And he was like, okay, you know, we really got to get this into some people's hands, you know, and so he's just being overly kind and extending some of his knowledge with publishing out to me and to hopefully further, you know, get just get the music out there, you know. But no, it's amazing within the Columbus community, like being a kid who's working the door at 17, 18 years old, and then running into those same people 30 years later. And I'm like, hey, I was a little short, fat kid who worked the door. They're like, what? You know, and
is that place still? Is it physically there?
Physically there, yeah. So it was Colleen's Collectibles after Park Avenue. It's a white building. It holds 90 people. It's a very unassuming building right off of Oakland Park. So if you're at Morris, or if you're at Oakland Park and Maze, okay, and you head east onto Oakland Park, you're going to pass Oakland Park Animal Hospital, whom I worked with, Joe and Bob Grimm. And then you're going to pass Donato's, and then it's on your left. If you're heading east, it's a little white building.
Nobody knows.
So many memories that happen there, man.
Well, I shouldn't say nobody. People. Well, I mean, I don't know, but
Ronald Cole used to play there. I mean, Drums and Wires and all those cats, man. It was like just being young and soaking up all the talent that was in town. Lollipop Factory. I mean, there's so much talent in this town.
You have all that influence in you.
Yeah, it's all in there because I love Queen already and I love the Beatles. And when I heard Lollipop Factory, I'm like, oh, they're doing that in their own way. It's like Jellyfish. You hear what they're doing, you know. And huge fan of like Butch Walker and old Elvis stuff, you know, and Kiss and then Seven Dust, you know, the Bee Gees, Marvin Gaye, Sam Cooke, Curtis Mayfield, Aretha Franklin, Amy Winehouse, Tori Amos. It's just, you know, there's so much good stuff out there. But then in town, so many amazing artists who may never get heard, you know. And then when we were on the road before, it was, you know, you hear these amazing artists, And these guys are out really struggling. They're out grinding, and they'll play for 2 people, and then they'll play a festival, you know.
Right.
And you grind, and we have that same thing in common. We're always grinding, you know. And then having come back home. Oh, now I'm kind of doing this side thing we talked about, how I kind of go off the rails here and talking about different stuff. Which reminds me, though, we talked out there during our pregame about once This Day Forever stopped in 2010. Mark and I asked me, hey, would you want to be in a couple of bands with me? And he, you know, there's a cover band, The Filthy Habits, with him and Matt Mace. And then he was like, there's also a band called Razor Bliss. I think, you know, you might dig. And so I go do the audition, and I'm looking at the bass player. I'm like, man, this guy looks really familiar. You know, I know his name's Tommy. And you know, I do the audition. He's like, oh man, you know, this is great. You know, you killed it. You kind of remind me, you know, like of Eddie meets, you know, Zach Wild. Like, holy hell, that's, you know, God love you. The more I look at him, and I'm like, wait a second. Mark's like, yeah, he was in Lita Ford's video, Kiss Me Deadly, and then he played with Alice Cooper. And I'm like, you were on my wall on a poster when I was 16, you know? And at that moment, I'm like, crazy. What the fuck? That's like
crazy.
It's the universe, you know? Oh, and I have another story for you as well. This is all tying in with I do believe that we create the universe for ourselves that we want to live, and we can sidetrack ourselves. You know what I mean? Based on, you know, based on
a night of drinking.
That will happen. But there's having
bad decisions and a different path.
No, that's right. That's right.
We didn't know they were bad decisions at the time.
No, that at all. You just kind of you're choosing your own adventure. You're choose your own adventure, right? Yeah. So when we moved to Columbus in 1984. I think it was 1985, the summer of 85. My mom and brother went to a yard sale a street over in a little neighborhood, and this teenage son had messed up bad. His mom was selling all of his records, right? Now, at the time, on my vinyl I had Twisted Sister, Motley Crue, Bruce Springsteen. I had Bryan Adams' Reckless, you know? So my tastes were all over the place. Eddie and the Cruisers, it was all over the place. And we knew of the band Kiss. We knew the makeup. I couldn't tell you any songs at the time, but I knew the visual, the brand, right? So my mom and brother come back with 10 to 12 Kiss records, almost everything from the 70s except for The Elder. And there was they had Lick It Up, Creatures of the Night, up through, at the time, up through Animalize. And I'm like, so it was 85. And I'm like, holy hell. So I put on Kiss Alive 2. And I'm like, that's just Chuck Berry, but louder. I got it. I know exactly what's going, because Chuck Berry was the main reason why I wanted to play guitar. I'm like, oh, holy hell. So this is what Kiss is about. And so I became a Kiss fanatic from that point on. Now, mind you, I was listening to Michael Jackson through the Jackson 5 and then listening to Thriller. That's how I knew. I didn't know Eddie Van Halen through Van Halen. I knew Eddie through Beat It. And that's how, yeah. And so this is how kind of, because
that shocks me.
Yeah, because this is how we grew up. It was country, gospel, and Motown in the home. And then any rock music we heard was more, you know, like dad playing 50s stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so the universe. So fast forward, I'm a personal trainer. Is it 50?
Good. Yeah, we're good.
Okay, so I'll speed this one up. So being a personal trainer and training at a private facility, a training studio up on Orange Road, I'm training the owners of the town, and I'm taking on our clients of the week. This couple, Bob and Judy Tansky from Tansky Toyota.
Sure.
At the time, he was going through dementia. She was in her 70s. And we start talking. And she's like, yeah, you know, Sherry tells me you're in a band. I'm like, yeah, we're going back on tour. She's like, oh, my cousin Billy manages bands. Okay, you know, we're talking. Who did he manage? Oh, Billy Idol and Kiss. Bill LaCoin was her cousin Billy.
Wow.
This guy was an idol to me because he was the one who created the touring cycle.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's how we all manifest certain things in our life.
Well, sure we do, man.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah, so that all ties in with that.
It does.
Then Kiss brought me here somehow.
And you know, you're writing
yes.
by tapping into your life experiences.
Yes.
You're tapped in, you're hearing things from the universe.
Everything. Yeah.
if you listen to Paul McCartney, he writes the same way, dude.
That's
like,
awesome.
Like you're tapped in with his process.
Yeah, man.
He hears things out of the you know. It's fun to listen to how people create.
Yeah.
And not everybody has the aptitude or the capabilities. You know,
Sure.
so we're blessed when we can.
I totally agree. So I make a joke about it. It's like serial killers and musicians, we all hear voices. Ours just sing harmonies and melodies. You know?
Oh man! And with that thought, we're gonna wrap up episode 28. But I want you to come back, Will.
I would love to come back. Thank you so much for having me here, man.
Dude, we need more Will stories.
There's going to be there's a lot in the books, man. Trust me.
Good deal. Well, you know, I appreciate you making the time. No, I know you're busy.
I appreciate you for just having me here. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I really had a great time with you and getting to know you a little better, and hopefully others that listen will as well. We're going to put some links in the episode description to share your music.
Thank you so much.
How people can get to that. And we're
Jimmy
looking
King's phone
forward
number.
to your release.
No, thank you.
No, we're not going to do that to Jimmy King. No. And that, I feel honored to have his phone number.
No, I know, it's good.
We do text once every 3 years. That something will happen.
Yeah.
And we need to communicate.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to get him to do a podcast.
I'll get him here.
Well, you don't have to. I mean, if he wants to do it,
Yeah. Oh, he will.
he'll come. You know, if anyone were to interview me, he would be on my list.
Oh no, yeah. I want to hear your story. That's the thing I'm waiting for.
It's pretty. I mean, it's pretty tame, but there's some fun stories. Like you can, Sean Pruden pulled one out of me.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
Yes.
If you listen to his episode.
I haven't yet. I will. No, I will. I'll do it tonight, actually. When I get home.
Couldn't keep Sean. If you know Sean,
He and I have met a
he's
few
got a
times.
heavy amount of energy.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get him to stay on the mic, so his audio sometimes fades in and out. But that's just part of the show, man.
It's part of the romance behind it.
All that.
Yes.
Will Newsome.
No, Len, thank you so much, man.
Episode 28 of Columbus Local Podcast. Thank you so much, sir.
No, thank you guys.
And thanks for listening. Bye-bye.